Good morning. I'm excited for this one, Marv. What do you think?
Oh, I'm so excited. Now,
Yeah.
this is a game changer, right? Like, man, we've gotten this question over and over again. And I feel like this is another awesome thing that we're rolling out to solve some issues for our real estate agents. So,
So let's get started. First, I want to start off today just talking about, what are the best agents doing today, to do business. So obviously we're in a market that has been a little tough, and I sit in a position to be able to talk and reach out to some of the top agents and teams in the country, which is unique, and I'm able to really lean into what they're doing. And the one commonality that I've learned is that the best agents today, they're not just selling homes, they're actually building pipelines. And they're looking at, market share. They're looking at total addressable market, like who should they start working with? And one of those niches is real estate investors and off-market deals. So my name is Dan Noma. I'm the CEO of Easy Street Offers. We historically have been a marketplace platform that we represented buyers on our platform, real estate investors, and we work with real estate agents to provide that supply. So real estate agents would come on our platform, they would submit properties to us for cash offer. We then would marry that cash offer or that particular property with our bullpen of real estate investors. Once we launched this program, I started talking to a lot of agents, and they came back to me and they said, what if we have our own investors? If we wanted to bring our own investors to your platform and give them access to off-market inventory, could we do it? And until today, the answer to that was no. So the answer was no, we represent the buyer's broker in the transaction. And you, as the agent, are always going to represent the seller and earn your entire fee by representing the seller in the transaction. But we have built the technology now to be able to allow real estate agents into our network on the purchase side and represent real estate investors that they're working with to supply them off market inventory. So think about this. 27% of homes sold in Q1 of 2025 were purchased by real estate investors. That means if you're a real estate agent not working with real estate investors, you're only working with 75% of the market, right? So you have actually you're leaving more than 25% of the market share on the table. Investors in this country now own 20% of all the single family homes across the United States. Let's not get that confused with the large institutions. So those of you that maybe you've heard me speak before, I do talk a lot about the real estate institutions. The thing that I'll share with you guys. So let's say we're talking about 20% of all single family homes in the United States are owned by real estate investors. Only 2% of those homes, so only 2% of that 20% are owned by these large institutions, publicly traded REITs, et cetera. That means that 98% of all of those single family rental properties are owned by mom and pop investors, just like you and I, that are going in, they're reaching out to their local real estate professional, they're having some dialogue with them about investing in real estate, and then the real estate professional is finding them a property, typically on the MLS. Now, what if you could bring those real estate investors the world of off-market inventory? And that's what Easy Street Offers Agent Pro is designed to do. Ignoring investors means that you are going to lose. You're only working with 1 in 4 active buyers in the market, right? Many investors buy and sell multiple properties per year. So when I think back to my beginning of my career, the reason I got started working with real estate investors and not retail clients specifically was, one is I noticed that the real estate investor didn't have a lot of emotion, right? They were buying properties based on the income that that property produced. They didn't really care about the kitchen. They didn't care about the location on the street, et cetera. What we cared about was, does this property make money? And that really was attractive to me. The other thing that was super attractive to me was the fact that real estate investors transact more frequently, right? So it becomes very predictable, very scalable. And because we're in a commission income business, We now can earn more money repeatedly working with a smaller demographic of consumers, right? So I think NAR last year said that the average consumer owns their home for about 13 years. So that means that every single person in your database is going to transact with you once in the next 13 years. They might transact with you twice if they sell and then buy, right? But a real estate investor is 4 times more likely to transact multiple times in a year. Investors often pay cash, they close quickly, and they have way fewer contingencies, which from a, if you're thinking about your time value of money, how much time am I spending working with these real estate investors? Think about that. Now your investor is paying cash, so you're not having to deal with a financing contingency or an appraisal issue. They close quickly, so you get your paycheck faster, and they have fewer contingencies to worry about. So your workload is actually less, which means that you can do more volume. The other thing I'll share with you guys is that 40% of investor deals happen off of market. That means that nearly half of all the properties, so half of that 27% of homes sold in Q4 or Q1 of 2025 were purchased by real estate investors off market, meaning that those properties never hit the MLS before the real estate investor captured them, right? There's almost this world of off-market inventory that is very disconnected, very antiquated, right? There isn't a lot of organization of off-market. And that's what Easy Street Offers is truly designed to do. Off-market means equals 1.2 million off-market transactions happen annually in the United States. So why don't we grab your market share of those off-market transactions? Off-market deals to your investors mean less competition. They often mean better pricing, and they really do mean faster closings. Investors rely on agents to source them, those hidden deals. But you got to remember, as an agent, your network is only so big. What if you could share that network with a pool of real estate agents? And now all of you are sharing your off-market inventory with your real estate investors as well. Working with real estate investors offers you as a real estate agent a competitive advantage. Off-market deals creates double commission potential. You're not chasing buyers, you're becoming the deal source. Build relationships that lead to listings, that lead to acquisitions, and that lead to repeat business. What I like to say is that we're going to future-proof your business. Investors remain active regardless of market slowdowns. Create long-term partnerships as a trusted investment advisor. Tap into a growing segment of the market that's underserved by real estate agents, by traditional real estate agents. Now we've established the why you would do this. Let's get into the what of Easy Street Offers. So historically, I'm going to show you guys what Easy Street Offers to real estate agents looks like today, right? So real estate agents would log into their Easy Street Offers account, and mind you that this account is free to you as a real estate agent. And inside of your ESO agent portal, right, your traditional ESO agent portal, you have a few different tabs here on the left, right? So you've got your dashboard, you've got your ability to go in here and request your cash offers, which we appreciate. So please continue sending us those cash offer requests. Then you've got the status of all of your requests inside of here, and you can see your My Requests. And now you can see your agent resources, right? What I'm here today to talk about, though, is Agent Pro. So some of you that have maybe logged on in the last few days saw this new starred tab here on the left-hand side, and it says ESO Agent Pro. Introducing ESO's Agent Pro platform, empowering your buyers to maximize commissions. What we're allowing you to do as a real estate agent is to work with that segment of your CRM, that segment of your relationships that are real estate investors, and start having dialogue with them about offering off-market and pre-MLS inventory. Here is what the new version of ESO looks like for our pro members. ESO, first of all, ESO Agent Pro is free to you as a real estate agent. absolutely free to you. The the difference in this new dashboard is that all of a sudden now you have this new buyer's agent section available on the top left-hand side here. This buyer's agent section offers you the ability to first build a buy box for one of your buyers, build a very subjective model for your buyers. And then as the properties get pushed through our portal and make sense, right? So that means that they've passed the physical characteristics of the buy box for your buyer, and they have passed the model, the financial modeling for your buyer. We will then pass you those opportunities to present to your clients. You become the expert. You become the buyer's broker in the transaction. You're bringing that opportunity to your investor clients. So you no longer have to refer your buyers to Easy Street Offers. You sit in the driver's seat to drive now your buyers to Easy Street Offers. So onboarding is simple. You would simply log into your traditional real estate agent account or go to esoagentpro.com. And Jennifer, if you would drop that into the chat for us, esoagentpro.com, you can sign up for your free Agent Pro account. The free Agent Pro account will have you set up a schedule and set up a meeting with one of our team members to set up your buy box for your buyer. So please, if you're going to do this, make sure that you have a buyer in mind when you're going to call and set up your appointment with us. We won't let you have access to ESO Agent Pro if you don't have an active buyer or someone that's actively looking for real estate. The one thing we like to say here at Easy Street Offers is that we have active investors on our platform. We don't really like idle investors on our platform. And the reason is that we have a pricing algorithm that actually gives real estate agents the offer, an indicative offer of what we know our buyers would be willing to pay. So it's very important to us that we run a tight ship and we keep active buyers on the platform. It doesn't mean as an active buyer, you could be on, spend the money that you've got saved up, and then be off. You definitely can turn the platform on and off as you need it. But we want to make sure that if we are going to go through the process of underwriting and evaluating these properties and send you 3,700 different data points about why this is a good investment, that you are going to actively make offers and you would actively purchase through the platform. So we just want to make sure that when you guys sign up for an Agent Pro account, you've got a buyer in mind, and we know that they're active. Those are the only two things that we need to make sure of. Once you set up that appointment with our team, this will become your new dashboard. So not only will you have the normal agent dashboard where you can come inside of here and request your cash offers, you also now are given the new buyer dashboard. And inside of your buyer dashboard, you'll see a couple different things here. You as the agent now will be able to, you'll get notifications as new properties hit your client's buy box. So we're doing all of the filtering for you, right? So the beauty of Easy Street Offers is that we've designed a tool to be able to filter the best investments and bring those investment properties to the top, right? Surface those best investments. You no longer, as a real estate agent, have to go sifting through the MLS to try to figure out which ones make sense, right? So, think about the process. You as an agent would be sitting with the MLS. You would be searching for properties that meet the characteristics of a buy box for your buyer. So maybe they're looking for 3-bedroom, 2 baths in a specific neighborhood. They want a specific school zone. They want to make sure it doesn't have a pool. Whatever it is that they're looking for in their next investment property, you would set up those normal specs as you did in the MLS. The system MLS would then filter to you, right? And it would send you those properties that meet that criteria, but there is no designation of whether or not that property makes sense as an investment or it doesn't. Easy Street Offer solves that for you, right? We actually are sending you off-market inventory, and we're sending you only the properties that make sense for your buyer. So you're not going to see hundreds of properties on inside of our platform. Unless you had multiple buyers and multiple buy boxes, you might start to see a bunch. But with a single buyer on our platform, you're going to see a limited number of properties. That means that we have filtered out all of the stuff that doesn't make sense for your buyer, and we are putting the properties that absolutely do make sense right in front of your buyer. So let's take a look at a property here. So every time a new property meets the characteristics of your buy box and also passes the model requirements that we've set up with you, you're going to get a text message and email notification that there's a new property and you should log into your Easy Street Offers portal to check it out. When you see the properties inside of the portal, you're just going to go to this Opportunities tab. You would hit the property address here, and now you're actually going to see the property through the lens of a real estate investor. So many of you haven't seen this yet, right? And this is very typical of what our buyer view looks like today. So a traditional real estate investor that works with us, this is what their view looks like. And so you're getting the same information and data that many of our buyers already do. You now, as a real estate agent, you can come inside of here and you can view all of the property details. You can see the agent's guidance price. So what did the agent think that this property was worth? Our system and our team has put together the current market value of the property. We've also given you a after repair value of the property, and then a suggested offer price based on the yield requirements of your buyer. You can see that you can toggle through all of the photos, and then you're actually able to even log in and see the pro formas here at the bottom of the screen. So this particular buyer has set up 3 separate different strategies, right? They're interested in long-term rental, they're interested in fix and flip, and they are also interested in this BRRRR model. And so this particular property in our example here, as an agent, I can come inside of here now and I can see that this property is modeled specifically for my buyer, right? So there is no question that this property makes sense for your buyer, because we've gone in and we've actually modeled it for them, right? So we've taken a lot of steps out of the way. You no longer, as an agent, have to go to the MLS, hunt for the property, go search for comps and comparables for that property, and then take that property and drop it in some sort of an Excel sheet or Google sheet that you then pass on to your buyer and say, okay, this is why I think this is a good investment. Most real estate schools don't even teach real estate modeling. So, it wouldn't surprise me that a lot of you don't even have access to a model to be able to say to a buyer, here is your projected return, right? And that's what all real estate investors want. You, you now as an agent come inside of here and you can see this property fully underwritten through the eyes of an investor. And what our team has done is we've gone in, we've supplied you with a few different numbers. We've provided you with this current market value of the property. We're providing you with a renovation estimate that is based on the data and information we have of doing over thousands of transactions across the United States. And so we're taking that exact information, dropping it in here and telling you what we believe is the right renovation budget to achieve this market rent. So in this particular model, this is a rent model. You can see that we dropped in a monthly rent here. With those numbers and the expense load assumptions that you as the agent provided us at your onboarding call, you're now seeing the property fully underwritten as if your real estate investor would see it themselves. So where do I go from here, right? As a real estate agent, I now present this opportunity to my buyer, right? I would reach out to my buyer and I would say, hey, we've got a new property. It's off market. This property is going to the MLS. Here's the property address. Here's the bedroom, bathroom count, square footage. Here's the vintage of the asset. Let me tell you more about the condition of the property, and then let's get into the numbers, right? And I would say to my real estate investors, let's start with the financial performance, right? This particular property nets a 5.57 net yield. Now, you might have a real estate investor that tells you that they at least want a 8% return. Fine. Whatever the return is that your investor wants, that becomes the target return. And you only see properties that meet that particular criteria. You can modify any of this criteria, the data that we put inside of here. You'll see that there's a couple different things in the acquisitions and renovation costs. We've entered the current market value of the property. We've entered the renovation number. We've also entered your commission. So this is where you get paid. You decide how much you're going to charge your buyer, right? So you remember in Easy Street Offers, the buyer always pays the buyer broker fee. It just becomes part of the transaction. There's a great book on this. It's called Who Moved the Cheese? So, buyers historically have always paid the commission. It was just a matter of where it was on the settlement statement. Well, now we're suggesting that, because of the structure of the system, that the agent would then talk to their buyer about whatever that fee is, right? So whatever fee that you want to charge the transaction, you would charge it here. Let's use 3% in our example. But let's say, for example, this buyer is a friend and you want to offer them a discount commission. You simply come inside of here and change it, and it will update for you there. We'll go back to 3. You can see here that ESO charges a 1% service fee to the transaction. So that's for us doing all the financial modeling for you and sourcing the opportunity. So we've done all the modeling, we've sourced the opportunity, and then we're going to work with you from contract to close, offer to close, to be able to purchase this property on behalf of your investor. Closing costs are factored in here. Maybe you're in a market where the closing costs are a little bit higher. Feel free to make adjustments to any of these fees over here on the left. Now you can see that you've got operating income. Here's your annual rents. Any of these other assumptions, these were all brought into us in our initial meeting. So we had all of this dialogue during our initial meeting. You can see the same is true for a fix and flip model. So if you have an investor that's looking for fix and flip properties, Easy Street Offers, Agent Pro is a great way to go to find those off-market fix and flip properties for your real estate investors. All of our supply down at Easy Street Offers is driven by real estate agents and agent partnerships. We don't have a direct-to-consumer strategy. That means these are truly off-market properties. Many of the properties that you're going to see are coming to us pre-MLS. So the consumer has decided to sell. They are trying to sell their property off-market or pre-MLS first before they have to take it to the MLS. So this becomes a super strong value proposition for you as a real estate agent to reach out to those potential investor clients that you've got saying, hey, I've got something for you. I can sign up for this platform that's going to deliver us off-market or pre-MLS inventory. When I get the inventory, I'm going to send it to you, right? And that's how you're going to start hooking those real estate investors. So for 22 years, I've been working with real estate investors around the country. And I can tell you that the biggest hooks in working with that demographic has been off-market properties, right? And the fact that we can do the modeling for them, right? The fact that I can take this information and data and I can fully underwrite it for them. Now, I know a lot of you guys are probably asking, well, how do I make an offer, right? Well, simply right here. So you can see that if you don't like this particular property, we'd ask that you come inside of here and reject it. But let's say that you do and you want to make an offer on the property, you're just going to hit this little blue button over here and start making an offer. This offer, think of this more like a letter of intent, right? So we're not actually going to draft a formal state-issued purchase contract here. We're actually going to go through this and we're going to dial in the general terms of what our buyer would be willing to pay, right? So here's what my buyer would be willing to pay for this particular property. Once you fill out this form, hit make offer, this offer goes directly to the seller side. The agent representing the seller will then take the offer and present it to the seller. We will make sure that that happens, and then we'll circle back with you on what happened and what the seller response was. If the seller decides to counter you, you're going to get a counter offer notification. If the seller decides to reject, you're going to see a rejection notification. But either way, you're going to get a notification of what happened to your buyer's offer, right? So all that happens through our portal and through our system. Once we get to the world of actually transacting, then at that point, we're going to ask you as the agent to go ahead and just draft your state issue purchase contract with these general terms. We'll then present that to the seller side, and you guys are off to the races, closing your next transaction, that much closer to your next real estate commission. Take you guys out of here. One of the things that that I think it makes our platform unique is we came from the world of working with these big giant institutions, and these big giant institutions, they need a lot of data and information to make a strong buying decision. What we decided to do when we started working with more mom and pop type real estate investors is we wanted to provide them with institutional grade data and information, but we didn't necessarily want to throw it at them all at this one single page, right? So this is your general property dashboard and you're seeing this property live. But let's say, for example, your buyer starts to question, okay, well, they're saying the property rents for $27.50. How did they get to that number? Up in the top right-hand corner over here, you can see that we can see comp and data details. I simply click that button. It then takes me right into our underwriting tool. And again, you're going to get the process details here. You're going to be able to see the property images. But I think the strongest points of our full underwriting tool is the fact that we're giving you access to the full CMA. So maybe different than what you see in the MLS, because we're providing you with a lot more comps. Of course, we're going to drag in any of the MLS comparables. So any of the properties that were listed in the MLS, we're going to drag those comparables in and you have access to those. We also share data with the largest SFR operators in the country. These properties never hit the MLS, whether they're for sale or for rent, they don't hit the MLS. And the only way to get that data is to start using our system to be able to share this. The thing that I'll share with you guys is that these mom and pop investor or these larger institutions own about 2% of all that rental inventory around the country, but they've bought a lot in the last few years. If you aren't using these comparables, you're actually leading your customer a little bit blind, right? Like it'd be no different than if you were going to take a new listing and you didn't have access to all of the listing comparables in that market, you'd be really leading your customer blind, right? So we want to make sure that we're giving you all of the, not only MLS, you're getting all the SFR operator listings, as well as any rental listings from any marketplace here as well. We're going to share with you comp insights. So where does your property stack up against any of the comparables? How does this property perform compared to other 3 bedrooms, 4 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, et cetera, in that neighborhood? What are some of the comp insights? And one of the things that I like to share with our investors is, it's important to know who your neighbors are, right? And so what we're sharing with you here is we're actually giving you the data and information of the composition of the other buyers in your market, right? And what's important to us here as we think about real estate investing is that these are landlords that have sought out these neighborhoods. They're not landlords by default, right? And so there's a reason that they bought the property in this particular neighborhood. And what I know is that because these are large institutions that are buying these properties, that they actually have a lot access to like institutional graded data and information that told them this was the best property to buy, right? So I like to follow where I see institutional traffic in a lot of different markets. As a home flipper, right? One of the things that we talk to home flippers about a lot is the fact that they're not sharing new home data with their customers. With our system here, what I can do is I can actually start to share the new home data with my investor. So if my flipper is flipping a property and I want to share with them within a 3-mile radius what the new homes are and where they're located. So now my real estate investor has a full view of what his buyers are potentially looking at. Because you got to remember, if I'm flipping a house, my likely buyer is not only considering my nice new property, but they're probably also considering new construction. And I should know what that looks like. We're giving you school and demographic data. What about power lines? Like, wouldn't it be interesting to know where all the power lines are located around your neighborhood? Points of interest. How about all the Airbnb properties that we've got mapped for you? So we can map every single Airbnb property, letting you know what the likelihood of an Airbnb being in that neighborhood. Some of you guys may be in the Southeast where flood zones and wetlands become a major issue when you're purchasing real estate. We've mapped all of those for you so that you can see all of that here. Many buyers or real estate investors look for things like opportunity zones, right? Zoning types. They also consider drive time. Like, what is the drive time from here to maybe like a major employer in that market? We'd be able to provide you with all of that data here as well. You get your school information, and of course, any normal assessor information is available for you here. So the data that I'm showing you here in this very quick version is 3,700 data points of whether or not you should make a buying decision on this property, right? And so our vision in building this product for you and for real estate investors is we wanted investors to sleep at night knowing they made a sound investment decision. I wanted to take out the idea that, somebody's opinion stood in the way of an investment decision. Let's lean into data. Let's lean into information. The data and information that we're providing you here has a market value of about $17,000 per month. So if you were a real estate agent and you want to provide your buyers with this data outside of Easy Street offers, the access to the data information would cost you almost $17,000 per month. So I've given you a quick view of what Easy Street Offers Agent Pro now allows you to be able to do. I'm going to close with this. The best agents in today's market are not just MLS warriors, they're deal makers. And the best deals, they're all happening off market with investors. If you want more listings, more commissions, and more control of your pipeline, this is where your focus should be. Okay, guys, I'm going to take a couple of questions. One is, will we get a copy of this recording? The answer is yes, of course. We'll provide you with a copy of the recording so you can see those opportunities. Next question. What kinds of off-market properties are available on the platform? Answer. We showcase off-market properties that include rental-grade inventory, value-add flips, and distressed assets through direct source submissions, not from wholesalers, but from actual home sellers represented by an agent and or asset manager or builder relationships. These are the properties that investors want, and they're not typically found on the MLS. Another question. Can I use my Agent Pro account to represent both buyers and sellers? Yes. In Easy Street Offers Agent Pro user, you can still submit your off-market inventory to get your offers within minutes. So right now we offer real estate agents the ability to submit their property to our platform and get your offer on that property within 4 minutes of your submission. You can also now represent buyers from your investor network to purchase deals that are submitted by other agents on the platform. How does Easy Street Offers Agent Pro different from working with iBuyers or wholesalers? Answer to this one is actually simple. Easy Street Offers was built for agents, not to compete with them. We're not here to take you, your client, or your commission. So your client we would never be in communication with your client. You always stay in the driver's seat. You continually talk to your clients, whether that's a seller or a buyer. We're just providing you the tools to be able to work with them better. Unlike iBuyers who, they also compete with real estate agents, right? They're driving television ads, radio ads, billboards, et cetera, telling consumers, submit your property to us, we'll give you a cash offer on your home. You as the real estate agent should be carrying that message as well. And we are the platform that allows you to back up that message. ESO provides a fully transparent investor marketplace where you stay in control of every single deal. We will never compete with you either for your seller clients or your buyer clients on either side of the transaction. What kind of training or marketing support do I get with ESO Agent Pro? We will provide you guys with access to our agent vault. And that agent vault includes a customizable marketing templates. There's scripts in there, there's flyers, there's digital ads, social ads. You also get onboarding support. So when you sign up for your Agent Pro account, you're going to speak to one of our representatives to set up your first buyer inside of your account. We're going to give you live training on how to actually use the tool and how to interact with your investor clients to close more transactions. Will there be any additional training around this tool? Absolutely. So like I said, every time you sign up a new buyer in the platform, it's our team that's signing the buyer up. So you're going to say, hey, I've got a new buyer. I don't need your buyer's name. I don't need your buyer's email address. I just need to know what your buyer wants us to buy. So what our team is going to do is we're going to sit with you and we're going to say, okay, you've had a conversation with your buyer. Now let's talk about what they're actually looking for. What market are they looking at? What are the physical characteristics of the properties that they're looking to buy? Do they want to buy single family detached? Do they want to consider townhomes? Do they want to consider condos? Are there any physical characteristics that we should know about? Maybe they don't want to buy properties that back up to commercial buildings. Maybe they don't want properties that have pools. Any of those things we can filter for. And so our goal is to create that filter for you. We're also going to set up their model for you. So make sure that you're having a conversation with your buyer in advance about how they're currently modeling their investment deals. Like, how are they actually looking at it? We want to make sure that when they see a property through the system and you see the property, that you're actually seeing it through their lens, right? Seeing it through their eyes instead of having a guess or send them an opportunity and go, well, I think that property management is going to be about 10% when your client really only pays 7% for property management fees. So we want to get as detailed as possible to make sure that we understand how much your buyer is actually willing to pay for this property. Well, Marv, I think we've answered a lot of questions here, man.
No, absolutely, man. And I just want to double down on a few things, right? Because I actually talked to some agents about this as we were ramping this out. And ultimately, the bottom line is this is about diversifying your business, right? Stability, growth, and ultimately staying relevant. And so, what you mentioned earlier, this is about weathering any market shifts. When you think about where we are today, high rates and low inventory, investor activity is actually staying very strong. And so, again, to Dan's point earlier, they're going to transact often multiple times per year. And so you now can weather. So by diversifying your business, you now can weather any of those market trends. So I'm just excited to roll this product out, Dan, and you did a great job. And I'm excited to give our agents another tool and resource.
Yeah, for sure. We had one more question pop in as we started talking, and it said, "Is there a list of things that we would need to ask our buyer that is needed to include into the tool for the best results?" The answer is yes. So we'll provide you with that list as well. Once you sign up and set your appointment, we're going to send you a list of questions that you're going to have to ask your buyer in advance so that when you have your onboarding meeting with us, that we've got all of the information we need in order to build your buy box and get your Agent Pro account set up. All right, guys. Well, I've kept you a few minutes after my time. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands what we're up to here today. Easy Street Offers was designed for real estate agents on behalf of real estate agents by real estate agents. We really want to empower real estate agents for the best possible consumer experience. That's really, truly our mission here at Easy Street Offers. And now we're providing you with a tool to represent now 25% of a market that maybe you just weren't tapping into before. So reach out to your buyers, reach out to your CRM, share with them that you now have access to off-market or pre-MLS deals, and then you're going to look like a whiz when you're presenting these opportunities to them.